Hi everyone, Anat Kessler here with a new video, and today we are making an art journal page with lots of paper scraps. I get a lot of questions about what to do with leftover papers and paper scraps, so I want to show you one idea that you can do to use those paper scraps that you have. So we're creating a page in our art journal. The reason that I am adding masking tape to the page is to strengthen the stitches and make sure that no color will bleed from other pages that I'm going to do later. So I have here a bunch of leftover paper scraps that I have, and I'm just going to tear pieces from these papers. So in the beginning I'm just using my hands to tear the papers, and I want all sides of each of the pieces that I tear to be torn, so don't leave any straight sides. And I'm trying to match the colors of my pieces, so in terms of design it will look nice and won't be too messy and too busy to look at. So what I'm doing, I'm basically tearing paper pieces and attaching them to my page with some glue. So it's also a very simple technique that doesn't require any special skills or materials or techniques. Just a few pieces of paper and some glue in your hands, of course. So you can play around with the size of the pieces that you tear and the shape. I'm basically making either squares or triangles, and I'm trying not to make them even because I want to play with the size. I want them to look different. So some are bigger, some are smaller. And you can see that I'm also picking papers that don't have a very busy pattern. I want to make sure that none of the paper pieces is going to be busier than the other and going to completely overwhelm the page. So you see all of the patterns are kind of gentle. Also the colors are not too bold. And when you want to attach one of the pieces where the art journal folds, simply use your bone folder to help the paper fold into its right position, because we want the papers to be glued very well to the page. We don't want any corners lifting or something like that. And you see also that I don't attach papers all the way to the edge. I want to leave some of the white background of the paper visible, so it will give me sort of a frame around my collage. So basically I'm making a collage of squares from paper scraps. And you can also do that on a scrapbook page, on a card, on a canvas. You can do that inside a frame and make it an art piece. You can use these techniques to make many projects. So let's add a little bit of red. That will draw our eye there because that's a kind of a bold color. You can see that I'm mixing and matching patterns and colors, trying them out before I actually glue them to my page. So this is a really good way to make a background that is colorful and interesting because you have different shapes, different colors, different patterns. You can play around with it. Want to add a little bit of pink, and this is going to be sort of a circle. Again, nothing has to be accurate or symmetrical since you're tearing it with your hands, but want to start adding details to the background. So I'm using other paper scraps to create interesting focal points and elements on my page. So this paper had little flowers and circle patterns on it, so I used my hands to tear it around the shape that was already on the paper. This is a way to use what you have on the paper. Use the pattern that is there. So this is becoming a really nice background. Let's add a little bit more green to balance the green that is already there on the bottom. And I think my background is complete. So now I can go ahead and add more details to my page. I'm using a butterfly stamp. By the way, if you have a butterfly that you can cut from a paper, you can do that instead of stamping. And then you'll be using more paper scraps. So you can look for images on your papers, cutting them out and adding them to your collage instead of stamping. And I recommend looking for images or shapes that are black, so they will really pop out of the background. So go through all your paper scraps, see if you have any images that are in black that you can cut out. I'm stamping instead. You can also combine stamping and cutting out shapes from your papers. The black color ties everything in and also make the shapes really clear against the background. Adding a little bit of a background stamp, and I'm just going over this flower with my pen because I don't think it's bold enough. I don't think the image is clear and bold enough, so I'm just going over with the pen. I think now it's bold enough and clear enough. And I always like to add a quote or something written to my art journal pages because I always like to say something on my pages. So I either write something that I feel or I think, or I use a quote that I like to add extra meaning to my page. So here I said it's always the small pieces that make the, and I want the word to be really clear, so I'm just going to write it on that piece of paper. So it's always the small pieces that make the big picture. So it's kind of a play with words that refers to a larger meaning, but also to the fact that this entire collage is made out of pieces of paper and how they all make a big picture, a big art journal page. So it's kind of fun, I think. Adding some doodling, some little circles. I want to add a few more pieces that I found in my stash. So I'm using the other side of the paper where it's yellow. And this is a paper that I use to punch out stars, so now I have sort of a paper that has a star pattern on it. Also want to punch out some circles and add them to my page, to my collage. This is another way to use paper scraps, punch them into other shapes that you can use on your projects, on a card, on a scrapbook page, on another art journal page. So instead of just using the paper as is, you can tear it, you can punch it, you can cut shapes out of it, you can make strips out of it. These are some of the ideas. And I just want to finish the page with a nice frame around it, so I'm making little lines, sort of stitches around the page. So I hope you liked this video. I want to thank you for joining me. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click on the little bell icon to be notified when I upload a new video. Thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you next time.